Hello and welcome to the Mindset and Mindfulness Podcast with me, your host, Sandy Powell.
Hello and welcome to today's episode. Today's guest is Anne-Marie Thrives, an entrepreneur, coach, and four-time best-selling Amazon author, including her book, A Wellness and Mindset Journey, 31 Days to a Stable Christmas. Welcome, Anne-Marie.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
Yes, I'm so excited to have you.
And thanks for the fun off camera.
Anytime.
That was awesome.
Yeah, can you tell us a bit more about you?
Sure. So my name is Anne-Marie. I was born in Italy and we immigrated to the US when I was about 7 and kind of had to find my way, learn the language and learn the cultures here. And I have a business background. I also have a cosmetology background. And so I did makeup and hair for weddings and special occasions for a long time until life happened and things changed. It started off with business, things changed. Then I went to cosmetology, things changed. And so I constantly had to keep pivoting in life due to circumstances, beyond my control. One was a car accident that where I was paralyzed for quite some time and had a brain injury. And so I had to, relearn how to do things in life. And the other one, there was a couple of those where I was injured in different places, all from people, either running a stop sign or running a red light or not paying attention. And then later on in life, I had breast cancer, and so there's been a lot of pivoting in my life, but the thread was the same. It was business, and it was like self-care. And so the big pivot came after COVID, and at that time, my I always wanted to write, and so I I would just write things and put them somewhere, and then eventually I decided to write for real. And my first book that came out was 31 Days to a Stable Christmas. And for a lot of people, the holidays can be very toxic and very, high stress environments. And so I wanted people to have good holidays because the holidays are my favorite time of the year. And so I wanted to share ways because when I had the brain injury, everything is on, everything is heightened, noises are heightened, shadows are heightened. There's a lot of things, headaches. I had headaches and migraines and stuff like that. And so that kind of messed with my thinking process and my stress levels and stuff like that. And I noticed that as I was experiencing more holidays and working with clients, that the holiday was starting to become like a real stressor for them. And so I wanted to start creating for my clients a stress-free holiday. And that led to this book and how because not every family's perfect. I mean, I think compared to other people, I had a pretty good, upbringing, but there were still things that I had to deal with my parents, and other family members, and I wanted to carry that on to other people, to help them to have a stress-free holiday. So that's how that all started. So it's 31 days of some of the chapters are Christmas songs, like Oh Come All Ye Faithful and things like that, but they're all geared to, for tips every single day to kind of have a healthy and abundant mindset so that we could have better holidays, how to be around toxic people and not have them affect us, or to draw boundaries so that those toxic people aren't a regular part of our lives. Saying to whether it's a friend or a family member, I would love to see you, but I am not going to talk about X, Y, and Z, and we're not going to allow that at the table, right? Because a lot of people, especially when they're hurting really bad, they can become manipulative, and that manipulation comes to the table and they decide they want to talk about something that happened that's been bothering them for like the longest time. And now everybody's here. I have everyone's attention and I am going to talk about this. And so, and then also I think sometimes, especially for women, we create all the work and all the steps and we put everything in place so that everybody has a great holiday, right? But then sometimes we don't have one because we're overworked and we have so many details to take care of. So I teach my clients to make different lists, like a big list. I call it a master list of things that you need right now. It doesn't have to get done right now, but it has to be done eventually soon. And then another list where, it could be done in a week or so. And then, so you just kind of break down your list to the day that you're going to do them. And just having that type of organization where it's out of your mind and it's on paper, and that frees up your mind to be more what I call mentally agile, where there's not all of these things in it that it has to sort through in order to focus on other things. So,
right. Yeah, it's really hard when you have the constant things going around. Ooh, I can't forget that there's this birthday and I still have to pick up this for school or whatever. Yeah, I have that too. And I do like, putting it on paper too. And then like, okay, here, I put it on paper. Now I can focus on other things. Because it's really hard if there's constant, especially if like it's multiple things, right? You're like, oh, and I can't forget to buy this. And I need to remind my husband of this and for my daughter and for the dog, and for me, and then just like 5 things that are already circling your mind, every hour or whatever, and you're like, oh, it sucks.
yeah.
So yes, I am also a big fan of writing things down. Basically, it started also as a pure, because I was laying and awake at nights a lot of times, and I was just like, like recircling, like, oh, I need to do this and I need to do that, and at some point I was just like, it's gotta stop, and then I don't even know where I found it somewhere or if it came to me, but like I was starting to write it down. I'm like, here, it's on paper, you can stop worrying now and go to sleep, kind of thing. And it really helped. And that's what I tell my clients too these days. If anybody is ever, thinking and overthinking and things are running in their mind, the writing out definitely has helped.
Yeah.
Not just me, but my clients as well.
I even do it. I left it in another room, but I actually have a clipboard that has, well, there's a couple pieces here, so that but I have like color coded papers for different things, and I write different things down like on certain days.
Yes.
So even like my weekly list is broken down to my daily list. And sometimes as women, we don't go shopping in just one store because one store has one thing and another store has another thing. So I also make my lists according to the stores so that I don't forget. And I will tell you that even though I make those lists, there's so many times where it happened just yesterday. I went to go shopping. There's this one store that I really like to go, but it's far away from me. So when I'm in the area, I'll go there. And I, got out of my car and I was walking into the store and I forgot my list. I had to go back out and so, things happen, but at least, like you were saying, our mind is like an alarm clock, and it knows when things need to happen. And so it'll go off. And like you said, until it's like the old clocks, where it goes beep, 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 beep until you turn it off. And so it does the same thing. It's reminding us of things that need to be done or things that we want to get done. And until we put it somewhere, it just keeps giving us that reminder.
Right.
So, yeah.
So good. Yes. It's so true.
Yes.
That brings me back to your story, as you were saying that you were trying out all these different businesses and things, but that you were also going for the writing, that you always enjoyed writing, but you never really went for it until recently, I guess, right?
Yes.
And so do you think that all these little, pushes, nudges, circumstances kind of were, guiding you towards that?
Yes, I believe that, um, as I was living through things in life, that it led me to where I am right now. And I can look back and even the most tragic things that have happened to me have, and I say, life happens for us, right? It doesn't, it looks like it's happening to us, right? Because the accidents were after, like the first one, I had just gotten a brand new job. I had gotten my degree and I started at this job, and I was a temporary, and then they ended up making me permanent. And the permanent date was October 1st. October 20th was when the accident happened. However, because it happened, after October 1st, I I had this company had like the best insurance ever. I mean, I got the best possible care at the hospital. I even got to get a private room at no extra cost because, with the brain injury, people have TVs on in the room and families coming in, and I just couldn't handle that extra sensory stuff that was going on around me. And so I look at all of these little things that were happening for me to help me get through this situation. Everything that I learned from, using my mind um, to help me move my toes and move my legs and then eventually move the rest of my body. All of these things I know are experiences that I've had, even going through breast cancer, that I can help other people with, that may be going through the same thing. Even with the cosmetology and the skincare and all that, helping people to look well when they're, if they have, when they go to work, or if they have, I deal with clients that, are in big organizations, and sometimes they have to, travel and go speak and whatever. And even traveling for some of these people is very stressful to them. So teaching them ways to handle these situations so that they can, when they're right in front of them, they have, they already have that mental 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, so to speak. And it's like, okay, I'm going to do this first, then I'm going to do another thing. And as women, we wear a lot of hats. So we've got our mommy hat, we've got our entrepreneur hat, we've got our, maid hat if we clean the house, we've got our cook hat on, we have all these hats, and we need to understand and be familiar with, when this hat comes off and I put this hat on, this is what happens. And it's kind of the same thing that I teach, people. Like when you're traveling, you have to be a different person. You have to be a person that pays attention to detail so you don't miss the gate where you're going. You have to be more streamlined with your skincare. You can't take everything you have in your drawer, you know. So little things, lead to bigger things. And so that's what I teach, is those little things to help people get through life. And we may not already know all these things, but creating habits to put those things in place is what matters. And habits are formed, it takes 31 days to form a habit, but then it takes 2 extra 31 days to hang on to it. So just because you did the 31 days, you can't just think, oh, it's a habit now and I can keep going. No, it takes two consecutive, like 3 31-day periods for that habit to take place. So it's 93 days. So
Yeah, so basically of all the struggles that you had and you overcame, and you found strategies to guide yourself through it, those are
yeah.
then the strategies you now are able to pass along for others. Yeah.
And I didn't think to myself, back then when I was going through things, that
Yeah.
this was gonna happen, And the last book that I wrote, it was Diary of a Fat and Mourning Post-Pandemic Woman, which was right after COVID. I lost one of my brothers during COVID, right before Christmas. And so, I in that book I talk about grief, I talk about addiction, whether it's alcohol, food, drugs, whatever. I talk about that and coming out of those things. And also because it was right, during the pandemic time, you know, you don't, it's grief doesn't just happen when somebody passes away. Grief can also happen when life changes. When I, went to school for one thing, meaning cosmetology, that was the first thing I went to school for. And then I couldn't do that anymore because of the accident. I can't, I couldn't stand and do hair for hours on end, right? So, so then I pivoted and did business, because I always wanted to be in my own business, and I had my own business when I was doing the cosmetology. So I flipped to the other side of the business where I'm building the business, right? And so it went into administration. So there's all these pivots throughout life that I had to make because, the last thing I was doing was no longer working for me because of whatever was happening physically. Um, so sometimes, especially after COVID, people had to do different things. Maybe their job required them to be at home now and you're on Zoom and you're not on maybe you weren't on the computer that much before, but now you are and you have to learn new things. Um, and there's all those other factors, so a lot of people had to pivot. Maybe the job that you were doing 30 years has phased out and it's gone in another direction. I mean, if you're doing something for 30 years or however many years you're doing it, because
Right.
anything you do for, more than 90 days or so, it becomes part of who you are, right? And so um having to make those pivots in life because things have changed. So now there's a grief of, maybe you had these plans before COVID and now those plans have to be rewritten. So having to just pivot and let go of the things that have hurt us or things that are different and trying to find new ways to do things. Because when we lose our hope, when something happens, it shakes our faith. And then if our faith isn't at a high level, then it causes us to lose hope. And when we lose hope, people can die from losing hope, right? We can go X amount of days without food, X amount of days without water, but not too many days without hope. So it's very important that we stay in a hopeful state.
Yes, yes. Yeah, that's so true. Yeah, there's so many forms of grief. And yes, like you said, you can grieve your old role, your old identity. Maybe you really liked, yeah, blooming in the office and having the connections and things like that. And then you had to be at home, right?
Yeah.
Like, yes, yes, like you said, there's so many different forms. Yeah. And
No
yes,
more
when things
water cooler. You know how they take
exactly,
the water
yes,
cooler
right.
to work and everybody goes and they all talk. No more water cooler.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Oh, but yes, you do have to pivot and really, yeah, I feel it takes a lot of yeah, it takes a lot of challenges to go through to then realize that there's always a way through, right? Like, because I feel like when it first happens, when you first, struggle, and of course when you're in it, it sucks. Let's be real, it sucks, and you're not necessarily right away after an accident be like, oh yeah, I'm gonna take this for the better, and this is gonna be so great on the other side, right? Like, of course, in the moment you're like, oh my God, like I've also had a severe car accident that left me stranded for quite a while, and I needed physical therapy and everything for over a year and big lawsuit and things just because, yeah.
Hmm.
And
Yeah.
and it was, yeah, like my 20s, and the doctors were like, oh, I'm never going to be the same. And I was just laying there like, oh my God, like this could just not be happening, right? Like this is not my life. Like I gotta be sitting and walking and doing things again. Like I'm only, right,
And you
20.
close your eyes and you're like, it's just a dream. Maybe it's just a dream. Maybe if I wake up, it'll be different. No.
Exactly.
Yeah. And we
Yeah. Yeah.
like
And I mean the same, yeah. So I struggled with cancer, and I mean it's just such a it's like a dark cloud. Like I don't know, it's just like that diagnosis, like when someone says that word, and I mean it's already like for every, and if you throw it in any room, like it already like changes everybody's face. But when someone says it to you, your doctor says it to you, it's just like, I
Yeah.
don't know, like my whole, like everything sank. Like it was just like, oh my God. And I was also only 20. I mean, like really beginning 20s. And I was like, my God, like this
Oh,
just cannot be happening.
yeah.
But, and I mean, for years, like, I mean, all the follow-ups and the rechecks, and I mean, it took such a long time to kind of be free of the. And they're like, oh yeah, you got a clean bill of health. Let's see. I mean, it's very difficult to yeah, like you said, keep up that hope and really envision yourself on the other side and really stay positive and pull yourself through, right? Like instead of letting it sink you, like pull you down and lose that hope and just kind of go that downward spiral of like, this is the diagnosis, this is the end result, like this is what it's going to be like, right?
Yeah.
Like not, oh,
Yeah.
really
When we
trying to find that way upward and be like, okay, this is just something that is here right now,
yes.
but I know there's a way to get to a different state, to make that better, to get back out. I got here, but I know there must be a way, the other way too, right? We hear it all the time. There's people of like miracles, right? Like people healing. They said they had only 1 month to live and they live on to live, 50 more years and things like that. So I just, yeah.
And that hope.
Eventually I got to that point too. And I was like, no, 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 no. Like, I'm just not accepting this. I'm not accepting that I will never do this and this and that again, or that they have to take out my uterus or whatever. That just can't be, right? There must be something I can do, that I can figure out. There must be a way that I just need to find.
Mhm. Mhm. And it puts us in a search mode, where we're looking for ways to find those things that we need to get us out, right? Because you know, th everybody's got their view of how to get out, even the doctor. They may have certain protocols and certain things that they put in place, and they put those same things in place for everyone. And we're not everyone, we're individual, and so sometimes, we have to find a different way out. But the important part of the whole thing, as you know, is, that there you have the hope that there is a way out. There is going to be a door or multiple doors that we could walk through to bring on that peace and that healing that we need. um and so and that's to me, it's a form of self-care, because we're continuing to stay in hope. We're trying to figure out ways to stay in hope. And that hopefulness would lead to other steps to, you know, to move forward. Because if when we internalize things and we continue to let the negative override the positive, then there may be a door there and we don't see it because we're so fogged up with the negative, you know? And so being in that state of hopefulness and knowing that there is, there is hope, however it comes. Um, and my mom had cancer too, but her fate was a little different. But the one difference between her and I is that, to her, she had lived a full life and she was okay with going. So she was okay with letting go. She was okay with, everybody's all right. All the kids are doing what and so I just kind of saw her let go, which was sad to see your mom saying, I'm okay and I'm okay to go. Um, but you know, so we have to continue in that fight. And it's not always easy to fight. And there may be, like being in a boxing ring where you get knocked down every once in a while. But as long as you keep getting back up, you'll be able to continue in that fight. Sometimes, for the most part, the things that we need are within us, right? But sometimes the thought is in us, but the resources are outside of us. But the resources are always there. There's always something there to help us. And
Right.
like you think to yourself, what, like you were saying before, like I thought to myself, what can I pull out of myself right now? Who do I need to be right now? Because I can't be Anne Marie paralyzed on the bed. I have to be Anne Marie that's walking and living a different life and a happy life, right? And so how do I make that happen? That's what I've always, looked at for myself. Was I angry? Yes. Was I wondering where God was when all of these things kept happening over and over and over again, seemingly at the same time that I'm trying to move forward in life, right? Um, and but you just, like we were talking about grief before, there's different steps, to get over grief. And, the steps aren't 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 for everybody. They could be 1, 4, 3 and 2, or whatever your combination is. That's your specific combination. But those, getting out is a part of the process, going through. We never get over those people because they were part of our lives, but we get through it, and they always, they stay with us. They played a part, they played a role, and we need to honor their legacy. And what did we learn from them that we could carry forward?
Yeah, becomes part of us, part of our story, part of our heart and how we carry ourselves forward. Exactly.
Yeah, exactly. And I've seen people stay in grief for years on end, and unfortunately their lives are miserable because grief can be a form of toxicity in our body, and trauma the same. And if we don't release that trauma and that grief, it'll affect our organs, our minds, and our lives. And so it's very important to address the things that are happening and deal with them in a healthy manner so you can have an abundant life, because grieving 24/7 for someone who's gone, even if it's a husband or a child, um, I, I mean, I think to myself, what would my mom and dad or my brother or my best friends that went before me, what would they think? I don't think they would want me to be here crying for them every single day. I don't think that they would want me to stop my life and not have any effect on the people around me, or, there's other people around us that need us. Would they want us to be in such a state of grief that we each come with something. We have a special package inside of us, right? And so what would I be taking away from myself and also from others if I chose to take myself out of the equation, right? Say a party is happening and I'm not going to go because I'm in grief. I don't want to. So you're taking away that opportunity to go and make new memories and to bless other people with you, because if we choose to be, we can be blessings everywhere we go. So people are missing out on you as a blessing to them and them as a blessing to you to stay in those trauma grief situations for extended periods of time,
Yeah. Yeah, everybody has to make a choice, right?
Mhm.
You have to make the choice
And
to
it's hard. I mean,
step into the light and focus on the positive. And just like you focus on, like, yes, the doctors tells you something, but just because they say it does not mean this is what it is. This is the end and all. There's always more ways than one. There's always more than one doctor. There's always more than one way. And you just got to be open to that and open to the possibility. And like you said, right, like seeing it, really, life is happening for you. Everything you choose your story. You can choose to be the victim, and you can choose and stay in that cycle of like, all the bad things are always happening to me. And because you're focused on that, life is reflecting you, and you're inviting ever more bad things into your life,
Mhm.
versus you're choosing to see it differently. And yes, I know that is hard, especially, like I said, in the
Yes.
beginning, right? When you have nothing to base it on and it just seems to happen all at once. But once you get into that upward spiral, into the hope, into the trust, and you find yourself, going forward, moving beyond things, and you develop more of that trust, and okay, this happened so that I could wake up and leave that job, leave that relationship, shake up my life, find this person, this passion of mine, and get to where I am now, where it is so much better. I needed that particular drama or hurt or whatever it was to shake me out of that. Like, because if I would have stayed, like, for example, I got diagnosed right before. So I'm originally from Germany, and they gave me that diagnosis with the cancer, and and I was supposed to come here to the United States, and they gave me that diagnosis the Monday before, so 1 week before I had to leave.
Mm.
And they were basically like, yeah, you should change all of that. You should just stay here and not go.
Mm.
Right. And so here I was like, hey, everything is packed. I'm ready to go. I have my passport, everything is ready. I was just basically doing all the checkups before I leave for a year. Like, I came here for a year first. And I thought, okay, I'm going to the gynecologist, going to the dentist. I'm just going to do all the checkups before I go, because then I don't know when I'm right. And then obviously she comes back with that. And I was like, Like, and she was like, oh yeah, yeah, oh, maybe, yeah, your dream of babies might be gone. And if this, and I was just like, what? Like, what? It was like it's so big. And like for days, obviously I was like, oh my God, what am I gonna do? Like, am I gonna go? Like, but this is ready, or am I gonna listen to this doctor? And am I gonna follow what she's saying and stuff? And I did kind of an in between. So I did the first biopsy, and then that doctor actually was really nice. And he was like, you know what? It's going to be fine. We have to monitor this anyways. Like, you wouldn't come back daily anyways. Like, even if you go, just come back regularly, get it checked out and see how it progressive, and things can always change and stuff like that. So I was just like, okay, you know what? I think I'm gonna go. I'm just gonna go, and I'm gonna see and take it from there. Whatever happens next, I don't know, but I'm just gonna trust something is gonna it's gonna work out somehow, kind of thing. And I think that was the biggest thing in my life. Like, I needed that change. And I guess life was really like shaking me around. Like, do you really want that change? Do you really want it? I could keep you here and you could go down this road, or you go and you make a change, and you change it for the better. And it took many, many, many more years, right, to be out of that. But I think that first step was right there, deciding to still make that change, to follow my dream, to make that big leap.
Yes. Yes. And it's funny when you were saying that you were in the middle of moving when that happened. It's the same thing with me. I was moving out of my home to be, my apartment, to be closer to that job that I had just gotten, and I got into the accident. The wheel fell off the car, and I lost control of the car while I was going to my new apartment. So
Wow.
yeah. And it was a choice, that I had made to move forward in life. And then I had to make other choices. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
It,
and and things do happen, because, anger isn't always bad. Sometimes anger is righteous, because if you didn't experience that anger, it wouldn't. And by anger, I mean not lashing out at people and doing bad things to people. It's just a dissatisfaction that you have on the inside of you, that that where you are right now may not be the best place for you. So there's this dissatisfied thing that comes up in you, and that dissatisfaction, makes your eyes see different, because you're fed up with this. You're done with this. What else is there? So you start looking, and that dissatisfaction leads you to other places that would be better for you. But if we don't get to that point, and we're not, I call them regular, you know how you go for, like you were saying before, like regular, and I did the same thing before we came here. I did all of my, all of my yearlies, to give me a year before I needed to find someone here, right? But we put these things in place so that that disappointment that leads us to places where this is no longer working for me. What else is there for me, right? Because if we didn't come to that place, we would stay wherever we are forever, and there would be no growth, because people don't move. They can stay in their comfort zone for a long time. And as long as you're comfortable, you're not going anywhere. When we get out of that comfort zone is when we start to move forward, and good things start happening in life. And it's not always easy. It's not because, hey, I made a choice, now everything's going to go great for me. No, we have to, it's not it. Some of the, when you're driving down the road, some of the lights are green, some of the lights are red. Some of them are yellow, and you have to kind of slow down because the red's coming, right? So that's the same way that life is. Sometimes we'll just skate through, things will be easy, but then we have to stop, reassess, wait, and then we keep going. But you have to look at your life that way. And I think that especially nowadays, people are so conditioned that if it's not, if there's any bump in the road, then this may not be for me. But that's not always the case. Sometimes the bumps in the road are what we need. You know how you go over the speed bumps? Well, if you stop at that bump and you don't go over the bump, you don't get to the other side of the street. You know?
Yeah.
Um,
Yes, things
so
have to be instant and easy and accessible.
Mhm,
Yeah,
mhm.
people don't want to put in the work, the reps anymore, but that is what you need to grow the confidence, to get to that next level, right? You need to get some kind of progression. If
Yeah.
and there's always a struggle. Yeah, like you said, nothing is really easy when you learn, when you go out of your comfort zone and you're building something new, you're starting something new. There's always growth, and with growth is the discomfort and the challenge. That is what makes you grow. So yeah, if you don't start, if you every time you reach that end of your little box, then you never make it to your next bigger box. You never make it anywhere. Like you said, yeah, growth is not possible with a bit of challenge and moving forward and moving the ups be beyond those obstacles, basically. Yeah.
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. And it, like you said, it's a choice. We have to choose to move forward. We have to choose to, leave this town to go to the next town. And you always have to have a vision. You have to have direction, because nobody gets in their car and just sits there. We're all going somewhere, so we have to know where we're going. Otherwise, we can't go anywhere.
Yeah.
And a lot of people just don't have that dream for their lives. They don't have that hope. They don't have that vision. And without having any vision for yourself and what you want in life, and maybe you just need to dust that dream off and, you know, blow the dust off and see what's going on in there and keep moving forward.
Yeah,
You know?
because you're always going somewhere, but you got to decide to be the driver. You got to
Yeah.
choose that direction. Otherwise, you're just driving with somebody else. And you might like that for a while, but you might not. But, you don't have
Yeah.
a choice over it until you get in your own car and you sit behind that,
Yeah.
steering wheel and you choose where you want to go.
Mhm.
That's the only way where you can reach where you want to go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yes, like you said, feelings are important. Like there's yeah, I don't know why feelings have such a bad rap, but yeah, feelings like anger, jealousy, shame, like guilt, those are all valid feelings. And you adding on top another layer of shame or whatever because you're feeling angry doesn't make it any better. You should accept the feeling, right? Like it is okay to be angry about the situation. You, I don't know, got hurt or your car got broken or whatever, you lost your job. It's okay to be angry about that or grieve, that situation, grieve that you are no longer able to do this or that. But then, like you said, move along, right? Like don't just stay in there, but express it in a healthy way. Yes. Right. And don't add on top of it, like, oh my God, I'm feeling angry and now I'm like a bad person or whatever, whatever. No, like it's okay to be angry and it's okay to be like dissatisfied or just whatever, and just kind of acknowledge it and be like, yes, I'm angry, and that is okay. And let's be angry for a moment. And I don't know, punch a pillow, scream. I have no idea, right? Until you let that pass you through, and then see where you go from there, and see, okay, I was really angry about this, but what can I take from this? Where do I want to go next? Right? Just reorient yourself. Yes, this didn't go this way, this door may closed or whatever, but that doesn't mean there isn't something else that's opening. Usually that it's just a redirection. Life is happening for you.
Exactly.
So look for the other door that opened. It doesn't just slam one door, it always opens something else.
Yes.
So just
Yeah.
kind of be on the lookout for what is that other next step.
Yeah. And all feelings are valid, and all feelings are part of our lives, but there's a time and a place for each feeling, you know, um, like we were talking about before. And one of the best, I think, examples for this is the movie Inside Out,
Yeah.
where right, where one feeling can't take over another feeling, because you have to experience that feeling for a certain period of time, but then another feeling has to jump in and take you to the next level. But if you're constantly in a state of anger and pushing all the buttons, or you know what I mean, each feeling has its time and its place. And if we allow ourselves to feel and then move on to the next, then the toxicity, that may take place in our bodies won't be as high as when we can, like if you continue to stay in anger or you continue to stay in fear, those are very, adrenaline releasing motions that aren't always, healthy if they persist after the time that they need to be there.
Right. Yeah, I think someone told me, yeah, like, if you stay in anger or something, right, you shorten your life by a minute. But then obviously the opposite is true as well. Like if you stay in happiness and calm and peace, you extend it again, and it's like a give and take, right? Like, so yes, you have those situations and those, but together, and hopefully you're more in the positive flow, the peace, the calm, grace, so that you then extend it. But yes, I think that's also why, like you said, like people get lost in those negative feelings, and why then some young lives are lost, because they go spiral down and they lose hope, and they do stay in that anger, that grief, that hopefulness, and just kind of give up, I guess. Yeah,
You
they just
you
don't.
can take that one thing that happens in life that's terrible, and there's been some terrible things that have happened to some people, so I don't want to discount, you
Oh
know,
no.
those bad things. However, if we continue to stay in that place, that will be where your life ended, you know?
Yeah.
I could have ended my life at that moment, saying to myself, well, I'm not going to walk again. And so, I'm just going to stay here. So we can stay at the same place that the trauma happened and not continue to grow. And that will be our life for as long as we want it. But when we choose to get the healing that we need, and some of the things that happen to people require a lot of healing. Um, but the point is, the healing is there. There are people that can help you to heal, trauma wise, no matter what you've gone through. But we have to choose to not stay in that place.
Yes, yes. Yes, yes, yes. I was standing on top of a roof once too, thinking to myself, oh my gosh, if, life would be so much better if I wasn't around. People would probably not miss me and things like that. And I was looking at all the things that were wrong. And well,
And that's
eventually I got to a place where I was like, there must be more. And there's so much beauty in the world. There are sunsets and butterflies and laughing babies and things. There must be more for me too. And
yeah,
yeah, I
that's
stepped
where
off
that
the
hope.
ledge and went
Yeah.
out searching for it.
Yeah. And we're all worthy of that. Just
Mhm.
because we did something or something happened to us, you know, um, we're all worthy of happiness. We're all worthy of peace, and we're all worthy of an abundant life, you know, no matter what you've done. God forgives anything, and anything. And uh, uh, I that's my favorite book, the Bible, and I believe in God, and the Bible says that once you confess your sin, that he forgets it. He doesn't remember it anymore. It's us who are confined by time who have to deal with that sin, and we can choose to let it go. But the confession needs to take place, because if we don't confess it, it doesn't come out, you know. People that have been raped, people that have been abused, people that, you know, they have to get that out, however way you need to get it out, you know, but it needs to come out. And once it comes out, it doesn't have any more power over you unless you choose to give it power, you know? And I can, I've had a lot of stuff happen, like I said before, some I don't talk about because I don't want to give it power. If someone comes into my path that has experienced the same thing, I can be empathetic to them because I've gone through it. But you know, that's what those things are for. They're not meant to hurt us for the rest of our lives unless we choose to live in that hurt. Um, and you can be forgiven of anything, even murder, because that's who God is. And so we are all worthy to live good lives, no matter what sin we committed. And if you do read the Bible, you know that David was a murderer, Moses was a murderer, there's so many people that did so many bad things, adultery, you name it, they're in the Bible. Um, So God can forgive you too. Okay.
My first official cry on the show. Oh my God. That's okay. But I guess it gets
That's
back
good.
to that driver's seat. You choose. You choose. Like in standing up there and choosing to look, choosing to not accept that this is all there is in life for me. Even though it was difficult, and even though my life at that point sucked like a lot, but I really chose to focus on the little things. Like I from that day forward, I had a diary, and I wrote all the positive things, anything I could find, from the laughing baby, just the sunset, the butterfly. If there was nothing happening that day, I was standing on my window in the, up until I saw a shooting star, so I could wish, and I could say there was something going on, or I could wish on my future and things like that. I always chose to look for the teeny tiny positive things. And that's what pulled me through from
Yes.
my own dark
And
place.
it's like a camera, you just have to put the focus in and
Yeah.
choose to see what you want to see.
Yes. Yes, exactly.
Mhm.
And yes, there will be always setbacks. There will always be storms and things that seem to randomly throw you off your game, and kind of alter your things, your perception, your reality, whatever is happening right now. But if you choose to go into the trust and into, believing that it is happening for you, and that there's something better coming,
Mhm. Mhm.
it will
Amen.
help you go forward and
Exactly.
find that that better thing. It helps you look for it. Because as we said, where the focus goes, yeah, your
And
energy.
when you ask your mind questions, when you start asking questions like what's for me, what's the next best thing for me?
Mhm.
Who do I need to seek out for this to happen? Do I need to go to school? Do I need to, whatever it is, the answer is out there. And then your brain starts to look for whatever it is that it needs, and then
Mhm.
the answers come, through prayer, through meditating on, good things. What's next for me? Maybe, drawing if you want to draw, but it's in you and we just need to, draw it out, bring it out.
Yeah, allowing yourself, yeah, trusting your inner self, yes, to let that out. Because a lot
Mhm.
of times or I grew up like very conditioned and very like, I had my little dreams and things, and a lot of times people were like, come up with something more realistic and stuff, right? And this does not pay bills or whatever. And so, right,
Yeah.
like things kind of get drummed out of us, but then, kind of having them reappear and really like listen to yourself, because your inner knowing knows the answer. Your soul knows what your plan is, and just kind
Yes.
of trusting in that, and yeah, reconnecting and listening more than you speak.
Oh,
Like really
yes.
trying to listen inward, because that's where your answers are, and then trusting in that.
Yes. Agree.
Yeah. Yeah. Ugh. um so yeah, is there something that you want to direct people to? If people want to connect with you, how could they connect with you?
Sure. My website has everything on there. It's we thrive at life.com. So all of my courses, programs, my books, and we just started I just started helping um aspiring authors to write their books and get them published. So that's up
Mhm.
now. And I have two resources that are free downloads that people can get. One is 10 vital keys to go from surviving to thriving. And then the other one is, how to be empowered, five key ways to be empowered, in a business setting. So
Wow.
those two are there as well, and those are free. So you can, just download them and check them out, and hopefully they'll help you.
Yeah, sounds very helpful. Thank you so
Yeah.
much. I'll definitely put that in the show notes.
Yes. Thank
And I
you.
just do have to point it out. I love I love that it's your name is Thrives, and you're guiding people from surviving to thriving, and your website goes with that too. I love
Yeah.
it. It's so beautiful. Coming
Yeah.
full circle.
Full circle. Yeah. Choosing
Yeah.
to thrive. Amen.
Exactly. Yes. And that's what it's all about, really choosing, being in that driver's seat and making that lemonade out of
Yes.
those lemons.
Oh, yes.
Make tequila if you have to. It helps too sometimes.
Right.
Oh, well, thank you. Thank you so much. It was so nice to speak with you today.
Same here. Same here. I so enjoyed our time together, and I look forward to getting the recording and putting it out so that people know about you and your podcast and what you've gone through as well. So to give them hope,
Yes, because
so
that's part of the reason why I have the podcast, right? For
yes.
people that are stuck in that downward spiral, that are stuck in any particular situation that they can maybe find themselves in, and see that they're okay, other people have been there too, and there is a better day ahead. There is a way
Yes.
out.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yes. Thank you so much.